All right. If you find yourself clicking around and typing and doing a bunch of different repetitive tasks on the computer, chances are we're probably wasting time. I know I've definitely been guilty of that at times. And so to talk through some strategies of that, I'm super excited to have Dillon Carter here from Go Aura. Now, Go Aura is a tool that helps people with these kind of general philosophies, but we're not even going to get into what his tool does. We're just going to get into the philosophy of automating tasks to get them off of your plate. So super excited to have you on here, Dillon, to talk about this kind of stuff, because I've heard you talk about it before, and it always kind of blows my mind as you're talking about through these topics.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I definitely geek out with this world, to the extent like I was writing notes earlier. I'm like, how, could you run an entire Amazon business in VR? I'm like, you got to be able to do this, right? Like super automation, like
Right,
you're on like the Star Trek kind of bridge thing. But
right.
no, so let's bring it down to like real applications, right? So once you understand this idea of like a systems mindset, and you have processes in place, you need to start looking at where you can apply tools. So I know it's easy, especially as an Amazon seller, to go from zero to like $2,000 a month in like monthly subscriptions with tools.
Mhm.
Definitely don't do
Yes.
that, right? But listen, there are tools that make your life 10 times better, right? Like a great example of one that I use constantly on my Mac, right? Let's just talk like local stuff for a bit.
Mm.
Alfred's fantastic. And actually, I'll go ahead and I'm going to screen share and start showing you some stuff. So Alfred is like a launcher. So if I do command space, I get this little tool. Doesn't seem like that cool, but it actually does some amazing things. So if I wanted to search Netflix as an example, I could type this in and it'll take me to Netflix, right? So I'm gonna type in Dairy Girls because that show is hilarious. And all I'm doing is I'm going straight to it. I'm not logged in, obviously, so it's not gonna let me in, but it's really just replacing this section up here, right? So I can do, let's do product hunt. So do product hunt. I'm just gonna say GPT-3. Don't worry what that is. It's just a nerdy AI thing. And you see, I'm jumping here. Okay, so, but why does this really matter? How does this save my life? Okay, here's the alternative. I have to do this. I can open up Chrome. Then I have to go to product hunts. Then I have to go to GPT-3 and hit search. Or I could have done PH GPT-3 and I'm already there. So at a high level, what I'm wanting to do is reduce the clicks and the tasks required for me to get certain things done, right? So if
Yeah.
I'm updating a Google Sheet doc constantly, I can actually look that up. So I can say open, 7% is one I typically go to. So, I'm not gonna open this because it's like projections, right? But what's great is I use Google Sheets and I have this stored locally as well. So I can go direct to it. I can say sheet, actually let's do a doc.new, and we're in a brand new Google Doc.
And that works in Chrome too, right?
It does, yeah. So basically, I'm circumnavigating having to open Chrome, hit Command L. I'm just going straight to it. Now I can close some stuff too if I wanted to, right? So I can say quit Spark, which is the email app that I use, right? So this is like
Huh.
my launcher, if that makes sense. So instead of me having to type and click, I'm not touching my mouse right now.
Yeah, and I'm
I'm
sure
just
there's a Windows
knocking stuff
equivalent
out.
for this too, right?
I think there is, yeah. I mean, so Mac has this built in with Spotlight. Alfred is free, is way better, and it looks amazing. Just use it.
Ah, okay, gotcha.
And then another one that I use is Keyboard Maestro. Keyboard Maestro is pretty cool. This is like a built-in, like if you use Siri shortcuts on your phone, this is like that, but for Mac. And
Uh-huh.
it's basically like drag and drop automation, right? So one of the cool things I like to do is not have to like click through and get to the website. If I go to the same thing every single time, I don't want to do it again. So I can do caps lock A, and this is all the Aura based stuff, right? So I can say support only, and then I'm going to say docs. Fantastic. And then I can search and query that. I'm building this out. And actually what's cool with Aura or with Alfred, I can actually, and I built this out super easy. I can search the Aura help desk articles if I want to. So I can say MFN for merchant fulfilled, and I'm already here. I didn't have to go to help.goaura.com and then search, right? So I'm
Mm.
streamlining my approach at a high level. So Keyboard Maestro is pretty cool. You can do some more advanced stuff. Let me pull up a few examples here. So let's see what, oh, here's a great one we can probably pull up. Actually, let me see. Okay, so I can't pull up any of those because it's going to pull up some specific data. But anyways, it saves me time and gets me right there, which is
Hmm.
super cool. I have another one called Hazel that I use. Hazel just automates moving files around. So in
Okay.
my downloads folder, as an example, if I open downloads, right? So now we're mixing the two. I got Alfred opening up my folder. Um, any file that is here after 12 hours is automatically deleted.
Oh, okay.
And then my trash bin is automatically deleting and cleaning itself every 24 hours. So these are little tasks, right? It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but I'm illustrating the point that even automation, you can boil it down to the things that are the most tedious, but
Hmm.
don't seem like that big of a deal, right? So my Mac basically automatically cleans itself.
Hmm.
But then you have tools like Zapier. This is kind of cool. You can start to automate the web.
Right.
So you can connect different applications, right? So I can create a system where, let's say I need to email a bunch of people, but I don't want it to be like an onboarding campaign kind of thing. I don't want to use MailChimp. I want it to come from me. Well, I can connect Google Sheets and Gmail, my real Gmail account, using Zapier. And I can
Hmm.
say for every row I add here, send them an email. But the rows are going to contain the email address and their first name.
Hmm.
I can create that template in Zapier, and every time I add one, they get a personalized email from my email, and it's not through like MailChimp or anything like that. I can
Hmm.
have data automatically updated. I mean, there's so many things you can do as long as Zapier is integrated with the tools you want to use, and most of them are.
Right.
You
It's kind
can
of
move
crazy.
information around. Yeah, and so it's nuts. It's like a lot of times you're just trying to move information from here to there, or have this one action happen because this other thing happened. And a lot of times you're doing that yourself, right? You're having to say, oh, when that happens, I need to do this. Just have it happen for you. Great example. When we have affiliates applied to become active affiliates with Aura, because we don't have them happening every single day, I'm not jumping in there. So if I don't know to go look, we could have a pending affiliate for weeks. So
Right.
instead of me having this idea where I have to go pull that information, which is manual, I use
Hmm.
Zapier, and I said every time somebody requests to become an affiliate, create a to-do list action item in Todoist, which is what I use for personal productivity that day.
Oh, okay.
So now, whenever it does happen, I find out about it immediately, get it done, and I'm out. So instead of me
Got it.
forgetting, because I'm a human being, it
Right.
comes to me, right? So there's all these things you could do. Another great one, is these idea of like saved responses, text expansion. There's tools like Text Expander. I kind of use the built-in stuff for Mac. Fun fact: on your phone, and these sync over if you use Apple products. You can create like free text expansion tools that work on all your devices. So like I'll show you. Let me pull up my email and I'll show you exactly kind of what this looks like. So share my screen here. Okay, so this is my email. So I've got two email inboxes here, just kind of smushed to one. I've only got a handful of emails. But let's say I want to jump into a new email here, and I want to type this whole thing out because I've done it before. I can pull up my shortcuts. I can just say hey, right? And it'll replace
Hmm.
with the person's first name, right? If I do that frequently, I'm good. Now, the built-in one that I use pretty frequently is like my email. So I can do business email. This is not
Wait, what
via
did you just
Spark.
type?
So I typed in semicolon B for business, EM for email, and that replaces it with
Ah,
my
okay.
business email. Now, if I want my personal email, I do PEM and replace it that way.
And that's just a code that
So
you came up with yourself.
yeah, and that's just using what's built in with my Mac and in my. Of course, I can do this on my iPhone as well. So I
Hmm.
never type my email. I never type my address. I just do semicolon address, and we're good.
Ah, okay.
Um, so like you can build these natively on the device. You can do it via the application. So let's do one using Spark, which is my email application. I do Command
Hmm.
T, and let's say somebody wants general sourcing advice. I hit that. And I'm like, hey, here's a little in-depth thing. Like, here's where I recommend you go. Because a lot of the times you have people asking very similar questions. So what
Right.
happens when you bucket those questions and then write very thoughtful responses to those questions? And then all you need to do is understand which bucket you're referring to and which one to use. So another one that I've been loving is a polite decline. So I have people reach out wanting to have conversations with me. I'm like, hey, this is not a good fit. So now I just go, hey there, or their name. We don't have a need for this, but I appreciate you taking the time to reach out. That's Dillon. I send that and I move on my life.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
it doesn't seem that important, but it is nice because what's my default response to this? I'm just not going to respond to it. And that kind of sucks for that person because they don't know and they're going to keep following up. So I'm going to keep getting these emails.
Right.
Or I could
So
take
they're going
2 seconds,
to spend their time sending to you. You're going to have your
100%.
time deleting it or
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
deciding whether or not to respond to it.
Correct. So let's talk about like, email. I know nobody understands email. It drives me insane. Um, you can go to dilloncarter.com/inbox-0 and that will be in the description below. I wrote a whole guide on how to hit inbox zero. It's not that difficult, but you have three major things you can do with an email.
Mm-hmm.
You can delete it, you can defer it, or you can do it. Right. So you can just straight up be like, I don't need this, we're gone. Now, if it's a newsletter thing and you're not reading them, just unsubscribe now. Don't keep archiving it, just unsubscribe now. It takes 2 seconds. Right. So you can delete. Then you can defer. Deferring just means I'm going to handle this later. Just because you're looking at your email does not mean that's the time to respond. So I will routinely in the mornings go through, run through these 4Ds, and then have a scheduled time on my calendar to actually respond to emails. Right. So, or you can do, right. So defer is really for me when I need to put a thoughtful response together. Do
Mm-hmm.
is probably just going to be me like responding with a templated email, right? Because that doesn't take long. I can do this on my phone in the morning, right? Laying in bed.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what it is, there's tons in here. And I'm adding new ones all the time. So it's another good one. Oh yeah, 15 minutes, right? So let's say somebody wants to schedule with me. I'm like, yeah, sounds good. Here's my link for 30 minutes, right? And so it's just like, hey, for less back and forth, here's what you can use. I have another version using my actual, like using the Mac version we're talking about. So I can do
Mm-hmm.
semicolon 30 minutes. I can do 15 minutes, right? I'm not going to remember this and I'm not going to go search for it every single time. I'm just going to be in here and say, hey, Joe, sounds good. Here's my link. I might hit that and then do 15 minutes and then send and I'm done.
That makes so much
So
sense because I go like look
yeah,
for my link every single
I do it
time,
every single time,
copy
every
and
time,
paste it.
100%. Yeah. So that's how you respond more quickly, right? You figure out these buckets and you're fine, right? So great example is, I need to handle this. This is for SEO. So I might actually throw this into my today folder. So today folder is actually things I'm going to respond to, right? So when I'm in here in the morning and I have like, 20 emails, I'm going through and just saying, well, what do I need to do with this one? This one's a little bit more in depth, so I'm gonna move this to today. Let's say I want to respond to it, but it's not that important. I move it to this week. And then on Friday, I just go through all of them. But if I have a saved response, I'll just send that now and then I'm good. So a
Got
lot of
it.
people I talk to have VAs managing their email. I'm like, honestly, I don't think you need it because really you can manage all of it in a handful of minutes if you have the right tools in place, right? You have to
Uh-huh.
understand saved responses and this idea of like automation, right? So saved responses are a small form of automation, right? I can certainly automate the more complex stuff, billing, accounting, customer support, all this stuff. And that's great. But honestly, if you don't even get this stuff right, the rest of that doesn't add up to a whole lot because
Right.
it's kind of like having the world's fastest laptop, but you're on dial up. It's like
Right. Right.
that's
Right.
not
Right.
it doesn't
Right.
help you. You know, you got to fix the internet first, right? And so for most people, it's even if you don't have a fast typing speed, using save responses kind of nullifies the idea that you need a fast typing speed, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty interesting. So at a high level, that's kind of how I approach things, right? So you have the processes, you have the SOPs, and you know where you're going and all this awesome stuff. But then it's like, okay, but how do I make myself have leverage while using the device that I'm on all day? You got to become a power user, right? You can do this locally, you can do this online, right? So there's a difference between using text replacement, which is local and like
Mm-hmm.
you use it when you need to, and then taking a process and saying, you know what, I routinely move information from this application to this other one. Let me just let Zapier do that for me. At one point, I had amzweekly.com, which was a weekly Amazon newsletter. That entire thing, all of it, was automated using Zapier, including like filtering and actually creating the email itself and sending it. You can do some very
Mm.
amazing stuff. And most of the things, if you're moving information from one place to another, stop, go to Zapier and see if both of those places you're moving it from and to are connected on Zapier. Because most likely you can save yourself probably, I would venture to guess most people could save themselves like 2 to 5 hours a week just using Zapier, not even considering using the stuff like, Hazel, Alfred, Keyboard Maestro, and saved responses.
Wow, that's so true. Because the more we can save ourselves from some of these repetitive tasks,
Sure.
and I think you said it in another video that even if you're paying someone literally $1 an hour, which hopefully you're
Yeah.
paying them a little bit more than that,
Right.
but even if you're paying someone that,
Mhm.
most likely, even the mid-level plan of Zapier, for
Mhm.
example, would be less expensive than what you would pay a
Yep.
person. So if you had to, upgrade the amount of Zapier tasks you're able to do in a month or whatever the case is,
Yeah.
most likely it's going to be worth it. And so, and the nice thing too about Zapier is they give you, if you put in two software tools, it gives you
Yep.
all these suggestions, usually both
100%.
ways of how you could use it.
Yeah.
So,
It's dumbfounding. It's one of those things where somebody says, "Oh, I'll just give that to my VA, or I'll just do it myself," and they don't realize that that task is actually like a sub penny task. Like,
mm,
listen, if you can pay a tool $100 a month and it's doing something for you 10 times a day,
hmm.
we're talking pennies now. I mean,
Right,
that's
right, right.
incredible, right? But so and that's kind of why I joke about like $1 per hour, because I know that's like the cheapest I've ever heard somebody pay a VA. Literally, don't do that. Please don't be that human being. But
Right, right.
it's like, just because you're paying somebody else $8 an hour does not mean that that's necessarily good, right? It's better than what your time is worth, but that's not
Hmm.
still good, right? I would still rather have somebody doing. I would rather pay somebody $8 an hour to do $10 an hour worth of work
Mm,
versus pay somebody $8 to do a penny's worth of work, right? Like
right.
it doesn't really equate. And so for me, the last step in everything, know where you're going, you got the processes super effective. That's step number one in my opinion. And then you make them super efficient, and then you get tools on it. And then when all else fails and you've maximized everything, then go get a human being to take over the rest, because that is the critical few things that a human should be doing. We're living in a world of AI and automation. If a computer can do it, a computer should be doing it. So we really need to start having conversations about, is this a computer task or a human task, and get
Hmm.
really clear on which one it is.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, well, there's some good
Yeah.
framing there. So I love it. So if somebody wanted to go check you out, I know you said you had a resource for Inbox Zero, but do you have a blog people could follow as well?
Yeah, definitely go to dilloncarter.com. Link's going to be in the description below. And you can go to dilloncarter.com/inbox-zero, like ZERO,
Hmm.
um, for like a very in-depth guide on like, here's fully how you manage your email and get it done right. And
Awesome.
obviously, keep watching these videos. That's the important bit.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dylan.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.